I gotta admit that Weapon X is probably my favorite mutant champ in the game right now, which is funny because I initially invested in him for Alliance War Defense back in the rank 4 6-star days, but then he ended up being my very first rank 5 mutant, and for a long time my only rank 5 mutant because I just wasn't really feeling the mutant class as much at the time. I mean, Archangel is still great, but I feel like Kitty and Apocalypse have fallen off a bit. And I still enjoy Professor X, but he's not as useful in the current landscape of the game. But Weapon X sure is. I mean, he's one of those champs that seemingly works really well when I don't even expect him to. So he was my third Ascended 6-star, which was a very easy choice to make at the time, because I've always had a soft spot for him, and at rank 5 he was pretty good, so I figured Ascended he'll be a better defender in Alliance War Defense. However, I was a bit surprised by how many people still underestimate him as an offensive champ. Last month, a lot of people got access to him through the Rare Champion Selector, and I saw many people asking who to pick between Weapon X and Jessica Jones, and I can admit that Jessica Jones is probably the more annoying defender, but as an all-round champ, I would have to say that Weapon X is superior because he's just a bit more strong on attack. So today I got a few Battlegrounds matches to showcase, starting against this Ascended Kingpin in Victory Track, which is not really a great matchup for Weapon X considering that most of his damage comes from bleed debuffs, and Kingpin's a champ known for purifying debuffs, so most of my bleeds didn't really stick. And it is polka dot power, so that is the only way I can gain power, so the ramp up was slightly slower, but not by much. I was still able to have a bleed on him for the majority of the fight. But the main thing is just the damage output was significantly reduced because I can't just rely on bleed damage. And Kingpin is constantly healing with willpower, so I pretty much had to rely on just special attacks for damage in this fight. Also have to be careful to not get hit because Kingpin can hit pretty hard with all those overpowers. Although if I am in Berserk, then at least I can heal back all the hit damage taken. Fortunately, there is also power shield, so the special attacks will be hitting pretty hard. It just takes a bit longer to get to them with polka dot power. But the one thing I like about using Weapon X for Kingpin is that he gains a rage charge every time the opponent purifies, so I was able to maintain Berserk for quite a while in this fight. I just wasn't able to play as aggressively as I would have liked since you have to bait Special 1, so he doesn't gain that long Unstoppable from the Special 2. And I just about managed to finish this fight in literally the last second. So yeah, not a great matchup, but he still worked and I managed to clutch the first round. So now moving on, we got another Victory Track matchup which you might not think would be a good one. I mean, usually you'd be using these champs the other way around, as in Peni being the attacker for Weapon X, since she does have class advantage and a really good passive heal block mechanic. But Weapon X is actually a solid Peni counter, just because he goes completely unblockable during Berserk, and that just eliminates the most annoying part about Peni. And this fight could have been a little bit faster if she didn't throw a Special 1. After my second combo, I was hoping to drop a heavy attack just before getting to 1 bar of power, and then drop the Special 1 to go Berserk, but unfortunately I did get power burned twice, so it just took a few extra seconds to finally get to that Special 1. But once I'm there, the fight is very simple. I just gotta keep on smacking her until she goes down. Had a 70k Special 1 crit thanks to Power Shield, which also affects damage over time, so the bleed was ticking for about 3800 damage. So that was a nice and easy one, and now we're gonna move on to something a bit more challenging. So now we are in Gladiator Circuit, where we have to deal with Safeguard and Stunning Reflection. So he's not the greatest for Safeguard since it does reduce all your hit damage to 1% of the opponent's max health, so we are mostly relying on bleeds for damage. Stunning Reflection isn't as bad because you can still parry while Berserk since Weapon X will be completely stun immune. But I never really relied on it because I am facing a rank 2 Killmonger who is a champ that gains a lot of power if you are applying a lot of debuffs, and I will be constantly applying bleed debuffs, so it will be very easy to bait specials and punish to get my openings, if he decides to throw them of course. And fortunately he was fairly aggressive in this fight, otherwise I would have struggled to gain my openings and perhaps even pushed him to 3 bars of power. Cause Weapon X is not a particularly good Killmonger counter. There's just a lot of specials to bait with all the power he gains from the bleeds, and just adding Safeguard on top of it means the fight takes longer since you can't really hit him hard, you just have to rely on the bleed damage. So my strategy for this fight was to try and refresh the bleeds with the heavy attack as much as I can. A lot of them did fall off just because I can't play as aggressively as I would have liked while baiting all these specials. So I got cornered very easily and took a 20k crit while trying to heavy punish. Fortunately I was in berserk so I can heal back all that damage. The only thing is it was a crit and Killmonger applies bleed when he crits, so I can't heal back the bleed damage unfortunately. But I am running max recovery, so I heal more than 100% of the hit damage taken, which is why I was able to go from 93% to 94% despite the bleed damage. And that's just one other thing I love about Weapon X. He is a champ where you can actually benefit from getting hit. So Killmonger goes down in 107 seconds. Not a quick time by any means, but I managed to finish with about 93% health. So I still got a somewhat decent score for a matchup that was far from ideal. Now I have one more matchup, and once again it is far from ideal because we are taking a rank 2 Maestro with Weapon X. A champ that I've also been considering taking up to rank 2 just for Battlegrounds defense. Even though he does have some pretty strong counters, if you can't draft them, he can be an absolute nightmare with the right node combinations. I really wasn't sure how Weapon X would do here since the glancing would prevent me from applying bleeds with basic attacks. And then there's the cosmic radiation which passively drains your health while you're near him, so I won't be able to heal that back, but I was still feeling somewhat confident about this round just because my opponent didn't have any great counters for Quicksilver, so I figured I might as well give good old Diaper Boy a shot. And what really helped in this fight is that even though the heavy attack does get glanced, it was still able to refresh the bleeds. If it weren't for that, I don't know if I would have been able to solo this fight, or at least it would have taken much longer and I would have lost more health. The fight time actually wasn't that bad, much quicker than the Killmonger one, but I lost about 35% health just due to the cosmic radiation. So it might not be the most impressive fight, but you would think Weapon X has no business taking down a rank 2 Maestro, especially with Safeguard. I did have some more impressive takedowns, especially in Victory Track. I just didn't record them all because it was kind of getting a bit excessive. I already had something like 2 hours worth of Battlegrounds gameplay recorded just from this season, and even more from the past 3 or 4 seasons, which I'm probably not going to do much with. I usually delete after 2 seasons. I'm just keeping it just in case I need more gameplay for a particular showcase. But that is pretty much it for this one. I hope you found it interesting, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.